Right, this is a picture which I took in Orkney when we were on holiday last year. And this is a very impressive entrance to a broch at the back here. And then you come forward through another circle with buildings on either side and a sort of circular place here. And you come through another entrance here. So there are 3 levels. There's this one here, which is the beginning, and it's marked by these 2 flat stones here, and these 2 upright ones here. Then you can come into the next place, which is a curved wall with an entrance. And then the 3rd one is the broch at the back with the tumble of whatever in the front. And then at the back, we've got the sky, and right over here, some distant hills. And the purpose of the lesson is to show you how to get that recession fairly easily. And you do it before you put in any detail. So I'm going to start with the sky. I wasn't going to, but I think I can do the sky without taking up too much time. So what I'm going to do is wet the surface of the paper all the way down to the broch, and I deliberately stop the water just where the edge of the drawing is there, and I'll just try and spread the water evenly. Right, now then, I want a sort of bluey grey colour, don't I, for that. So I'll start with painter standby, which is ultramarine. And I think I'll put a bit of purple in it, if I can find where the purple is. Yes, that's the purple. So I'm going to put a little of the purple in that colour, which makes it a bit more stormy. So we will warm up the picture. My photograph is quite cool, and I think if it gets warmed up, it will be better. I'm going to start up here. There's a little bit of a cloud here. It doesn't matter too much how you, and then it comes down here and spreads over toward the rock itself. I'm just trying to, there we are, we get those sideways sort of looks. Now I'm going to add a little bit more blue here, because it's darker there. It's over here too, isn't it? There's a I might just put a touch of burnt sienna in it, just to darken it off a bit there. But you don't want to overwork it. It's so easy to do. I'm going to add a bit more menace there. There. The thing about the paint is it will spread and take its own way of life. So it's quite a stormy sky there, isn't it? I think if I leave that, more or less, that's fine. And while I've got the colour, if I increase the amount of paint in the mix, in my bluey purpley mix, and put in those distant hills, while it's a little bit wet, they will also walk a little bit, which is always useful. And then there's a little bit of sea which shows down here. So I'm just put a bit of water there to make the, there we are. So that's enough to send this back. Now, if we're going to do the recession, what we want to do is start with pale colours here and increase the tone as we go back. So I'm going to start by putting paint on this area here and here, which is in the foreground. And I'm going to take it over the whole of the painting. So I better get the colour right. Let's see. So, oops, didn't want to do that. That was wrong. It's called wash your brush first. Right, here we are. So I'm taking the water over the whole of this area, and I'm going to miss out where the light is catching the top of that wall there. Where the light is catching the top of this brick, stone, whatever. So I'm going round the bits that have caught the light. You'd be a little bit careful here. This is dark. That's caught the light there. This is dark here. So you need to be a bit careful where you put in the water. Comes all the way over here. There's a touch of light there if I have got it. This is in shadow here. That's catching the light. Okay, there we go. There's a little bit of light on here. And top of that rock, but not there. Top of that rock there. Something like that. I'll take it off the bottom of the picture. Now, I want to put in very faint tones of some of the shades. So I've got a touch of Viridian, which you might think is a bit extreme, but it's a very faint colour that I'm putting in. It's just a nice colour, you know, and if you want to make things interesting, you've got to use nice colours, haven't you? And a tiny touch, clean the brush, tiny touch of purple in places. Let them blend with each other. I'm not too worried about the grass at this stage. By putting this very faint colouring on the picture, it will make the grass fit in with the rest of the picture more easily. So actually put the grass color down. It will be colored by what you put on here. And a bit more of the greeny color. And where the green mixes with the purple, it does nice things. There we are. Right, so that's sort of blotchy all over. Now, really, I ought to let that dry. However, life is marching on, so I better continue what I'm doing now. I'm not going to put any more paint on this front area here. I'm going to be working on this area near the back. I'm going to take my purple again and increase the tonal value of what I'm putting down. Might have overdone that a bit. Well, that's easy. You just put a bit of water in it and mop it out if you've been too generous. Again, it's not serious, so. This comes down here, so my activity stopped round about there. Could go down into the grass, that's not a problem. Take it across here a bit. Perhaps could do with a bit more of the green there to suggest. Here we are. And the paper is taking the paint funny. I don't want a hard line on this area here, so I've just added a bit more water. So we've got the right, so we've got the front area, we've got that area. Now, if we take the color even darker, again, I should wait, you know, like I said. Now, I'm just doing the bit right at the back beyond this second circle. The light isn't catching any of that, so we can put a bit more of the green in. As much as anything to differentiate between that and the sky. That comes down to about here. Take that a bit darker. Right, so you've got a sort of recession coming in your painting. You might feel that's a bit confusing at the moment, so let's add a bit of yellow to the, well, it's not yellow, it's raw sienna to your green. You get that's a reasonably adequate green. I might put a bit more yellow in it. So that goes quite well with the other colors, but it's distinctive because of the addition. And if we put it in there, and then there, then we're bringing it down, and as it goes over lighter things, it lightens itself. You begin to see the picture emerging. And then I add a bit of water to it as it's coming down here. See, it's beginning to pick out the grassy area. With a bit of luck, I won't need to do anything to that. It'll just sort of work. So I've got the recession coming in the picture. And I've got the basic colours and tones of the front, middle, and the back. And that's given you a recession. And when you now start to work in detail, for instance, I'll need to darken some of these to make the lights stand out better. When I get back here, start to work on the detail there, that will, the work I put on it will have to be dark to accommodate the color there. That is the of getting the recession in your picture. How are we doing?
We have about 10 minutes.
Right. Right. Well, I could do a bit. I'll take a smaller brush now and show you how I work on. So if I take the purple, it's got quite a lot of water in it here. There is the stone. This, if I've got the drawing right, is where the shadow lies, and it comes up here and it broadens as it comes across there. This area here is also it's an area of quite strong shadow there. I'm not putting the strong shadow in yet, I'm just indicating where it will be. This part here, I've got lost a bit. There's some, it comes down here more, like that. So I'm just putting in the shadows which I can see, just indicating where they are, not making too much of a production about getting the total value of that shadow correct. Just beginning to set in some of the line of the I'm getting a bit fed up with that colour, so I'm going to add a little touch of green into that, just to make it not too much, because it's overpowered. Viridian's quite a strong colour. But you can see how by doing that, I'm getting the texture to these rocks over here. Still not going for any great detail in how I'm painting them. I just saying, well, you know, this part's a bit dark, and it's actually a bit darker than that part. And you can see how the contrast between this bit here is throwing up the light on that there, which is rather nice. If I take the same color here, these rocks are, there's a little touch of light catching it there, which is rather nice. And this one is barely visible bit of light coming down there. Quite a strong shadow. I'm not putting in strong shadows yet, so mustn't get carried away with strong shadow. A little touch of the green. And perhaps this far forward, I could even put in a touch of the yellow itself to, it's quite a light sandstone. You are never going to get all these lines and angles right unless you're a very painstaking sort of painter. And I'm not. So I'm not attempting to get exactly what is there, just putting in enough to suggest where the shadows are. And by the depth of the shadow and the thickness of the shadow, you suggest how thick the rocks are. That's again beginning to show a bit of space. And this rock here is in shadow, quite deep shadow, and but not all of it is in deep shadow, so I've got to take some of the paint back. I don't think I'm going to get it out with it, so I will blot it out with a bit of rag. Didn't want to come even with a bit of rag, so there we are. Just trying to get the characteristic flat, flaky stuff that is here. Give me some idea of where I'm at, you know, which is quite important. And you can start with a deep shadow, and then if you add some water above it, it'll bleed into that with a bit of luck. Well, fella, it's supposed to be bleeding. So it's beginning to touch up, so you're beginning to think that this is really dark, and that's in the light a little bit. Could do with some blue, couldn't we? We have a little bit of blue in here. It's all getting a little bit samey in colour. Basically, what I'm doing now is pure decoration on the basic shapes to make the picture have the character of the Orkney landscape. This particular stone seems to be all over Orkney, and it splits very nicely into building blocks. And since they had chopped down all the trees, we're a bit short of something to build with. Right. This shows this shows. So all I've done in this lesson is prepare the ground for the next session where we'll, when it's dry, we'll be able to work much more comfortably.